Hello, and welcome to Emerald Thoth with me, Mark. Not Divine Thoth today, Emerald Thoth. It seems to interchange. First of all, today, I just wanted to start by saying thank you and say how grateful I am for everyone who's subscribed to this channel, for all the comments, all the likes, and for anyone who's watched these videos or read these messages. And I'm just grateful for all the people who've been here, and it's been an interesting journey. And for anyone who wants to go out there and just put themselves out on, the internet, and you have something creative to give, I'd say you just go and do it. And with that, I'm going to take a little break, having done 30 videos in 30 days. It's a little challenge I set myself. I'm going to take a little break just as I turn 36, just a bit of time to reflect. Okay, having said all that, there's one more message and reading that wants to come out today. And today I've been drawn to two of the Divine Masters to bring a message where I'm not really quite sure what's going to come out. And I'm just going to pull cards and go kind of carte blanche with this on a blank slate and see what comes through. But the two cards I've been pulled to draw today are Thoth, which is divine magic, the teacher awakens, the student becomes the master, and Jesus, with acts of service. When you serve, the universe serves you. There's all kinds of links between Jesus and Thoth and reincarnations, and the time period when Jesus left Jerusalem at the age of around 12 and went to different places, which is kind of erased from history from what he did from the age of 12 to 32 about. And what he learned, he believed he went to Egypt to learn about ancient wisdom, to Tibet to learn about energy healing and things like Reiki, which was, for some people Reiki's been around since the 1800s after Master Usui, but it's believed that it's long lost knowledge that goes back a lot further. And then to India to learn about reincarnation and the Buddhist kind of beliefs that are around that region. So, what relevance does that have today? It could be part of why you're drawn here and you think about past lives and reincarnations, or simply you just think about how you can serve in the world. It's not all about the kind of ancient mysticism and all these practices, which is part of it, and part of some people are on that path. But I think the ultimate thing is how do we serve each other? How do we serve the universe in an aligned fashion? Because the universe runs within you, it's just a case of us activating and aligning with it for our being. And I guess this is the question that Jesus asked today, is how can you help the world in a divinely aligned way? And Thoth, with that divine magic, so what magic will you use, and how will you awaken to that? How will you become the teacher of that? Two of quite prominent historical teachers in the spiritual sense, in modern kind of egoic terms not so much, but in anyone who's drawn to more spiritual, less egocentric way of thinking is drawn to these kinds of teachers. So I'm going to start with the Urban Crow Oracle to kind of get more present ground messages. So what Thoth and Jesus want to say in this reading today. Okay. So number 37, preparation, comes out. Interesting, I talk about a period of reflection, and taking a break, and this gives a sense here of being prepared. And I started this video by talking about a period where, Jesus, Yeshua, was being prepared for what we know of him mainly nowadays, and his miracles and his acts and his teachings. And whatever way you relate to it, it's Christ consciousness or it's just being a good human being, rather than relating it to one individual or one story. There's a sense of you going through that preparation stage, that gathering stage, the knowledge, the information, the practices. In whatever way that is relevant for you, there's a period of preparation for for serving, for an act of service, for becoming a teacher in this world, a teacher of divine magic. At the bottom of the deck is release. So it's also a period of release. It's 37 and 39, they're not too far from each other. Obviously talks the themes of resurrection, you talk about reincarnation, but you don't have to talk about reincarnation just as different lives. You can do, and that's what you choose to believe. But we all change within our lifetimes. Our skin cells change, our thoughts, our perceptions change, how we feel and how we express emotions changes. And so there's a period of release, of transformation, of ascending. And that's also for the earth, that the earth is kind of ascending in the way that we're looking at things is changing. It's ever evolving. Even the past comes back to the future and the future goes back to the past. So number 14 is distance. And this is saying that, this can indicate travel. This can indicate you going somewhere different or you seeking someone different. It can be an internal journey as well as an external. So it's saying you're taking distance, and it gives me a sense of distance from like the Matrix and the modern world, and just seeing where you stand in this period of preparation of where is your more enlightened place, or where resonates, what resonates with your soul. And at the bottom of the deck is number 1, abundance, and you're looking for that abundant place, that place of being, that place that resonates with your being, and where you can feel that energy around you in a more physical 3D sense. So let's have a look at the advice from the ancestors. Ooh. Take the one that fell furthest out there. Let's get another card with it. Another 2 cards with it, okay. So the card that came out first is the Patriarch, which is number 4, which relates to the Emperor, unapologetic. And that gives a sense that, you're standing in your own power, that you're unapologetic in this journey as you keep some distance, as you prepare, as you release, as you do all the necessary things to search for what you are looking for, and you have the ultimate authority over that. You have the ultimate choice of the decisions that you make in this life, and you're ultimately judged by a higher power in that. If you talk about the weighing of the heart in Egyptian law, then you have to take control and make those decisions, because at the end of the day, any judgment that comes is, well, depends how much you want to be judged by other people, or how much you take that into account, because there is a belief that there's a higher power, that there's something greater that we are serving, as in the universe, rather than just serving corporations, serving money in its not so abundant form, and just serving modern day lower vibrational things. We're slaves to technology, we're slaves to television, we're slaves to excessive meat consumptions, we're slaves to the things in our water. We're slaves to being put in a lower condition, lower vibration, lower conditioning, and being held back. And so to counteract that, you have to become the Emperor, and not in a sense where you become let's be honest, a Donald Trump type individual, or Elon Musk, or some CEO form, where you have power and influence and you use it just in a lower vibrational sense, but in a sense that you embody what you're being asked by the universe, by divine magic. That's the grander sense of strength and power, and that's the kind of benevolent but still firm and still universally aligned emperor or chieftain that you want to be. It's an earthly sense of a patriarch as well. There's other cards in this deck, and I think the Father God card, which talks about radical truth is a very high version of this. This is a grounded effort. This is you embodying that in the human form. Number 4, again, relating to a sense of stability. So then we have altar of water, love overflowing, number 27. And especially with relation to Jesus, talking of love and compassion for other human beings, and even among the realms of the sons of Enki, if you will, or the Atlantean born, that Thoth was a more kind of benevolent God, trying to share wisdom with human beings, and God as such. But it's not, the way we see God is kind of different, and universal source creation is a little bit different from these kind of gods and the way they were put. The more higher consciousness beings would probably be more apt, but among them Thoth was more in line with the benevolence of human beings, a bit like a Prometheus figure, of sharing that kind of wisdom to help mankind, and then mankind with its free will makes its own choices. That's across all kind of spiritual teachings. And so here you are always divinely poured into by the universe. It's then a case of how do you feel that, and then how do you pour that out, and do you do it in ways that are serving, and in ways that you can kind of radiate this kind of light. Because it's always a difficult balance in our minds to think how we can show people love, but also not to do it in a way that is of need. And also, even if we're not showing people love, how that is also a need. We're cutting off the flow to try and draw other things around us, or to potentially feel safe, but there's a false sense of security. Or we do the opposite, we keep flowing out to feel safe, but we never will be safe because we never hold enough, or we never direct it so much, so that love can flow into the places where it will expand and grow. And with that is the peacemaker, persistent patience, number 14 here. And this relates to the temperance card, and this relates to that balance of you can almost see a balance of these two cards in a way of overflowing love, and that divine feminine sense here it gives, and this joyous, beautiful emotional sense with the eyes closed. It talks about portals and receptivity of universal love, but this is a lot more grounded. You can stare into the eyes of this chieftain, right? It's very firm, very bound kind of way of being, but it's very assured. And with this is the flow of those fire and water. And I think of all the tarot cards, the temperance card probably relates most to the Holy Grail. You can go back to the concepts of the Holy Grail and Jesus' bloodline, but you look at that Holy Grail is within you, essentially. All of it, even the teachings of Thoth, all of it speaks to consciousness, and it's a sense of inner being. It's not a magical cup that you go to, a magical fountain of youth like in the halls of Amenti, but it's a case of the balance of your own being and the balance of duality, because duality is something that brings a separation and takes us away from oneness and that grace and that higher feeling, which is okay if you understand that, but if you're not conscious of it, then it doesn't have full substance to it. So this is asking you to try and find that balance in bliss, in a genuine, almost angelic sense of bliss. So let's take messages from the time travelers. Okay, 3 cards that popped out. Bottom of the deck is 20, healing. And so this would be, again, this comes up quite a lot, this particular card, and very heart chakra based. Jesus was, of course, a healer, and some of his story is learning how to be a healer on this earth. It's almost put in Christian religion context that he just was a healer, and we're just the age of around about 30, he just was healing people, and then it doesn't quite fully add up. And so there would have been kind of learning, there would have been this journey that Jesus had to be a healer, which he was divinely called to, which was his serving on the earth. And so do you hold that kind of essence of healing, or wanting to help heal people in your own way, in your own embodiment in this life. And to do it with playfulness. Woodstock, New York, gives it a more grounded sense, it gives it a more joyous sense, it gives it a more community sense, it gives it a more modern sense as well of, you know, the peace and love and that kind of hippie movement. It does talk to something, you know. The human politics always get in the way as well, so it has to be genuine, but talks to a sense of ways in a modern sense to bring healing to the world and to the people around you. And the ways to do that. So, reflection. Mount Shasta's moon, it's full moon in Scorpio today. And this gives a big sense of transformation in there. And again, at the start of this video, I talked about a period of reflection. Uranus is opposite the moon in this cycle as well, and that opposition means that there's change to come, and there can be striking changes in your life, and as you reflect on them, you can understand them and comprehend them in a higher sense, like up in the stars here. You're going through a portal, and so that would ask for some reflection on this distance of where you are in the world and what, you know, you want to mean, those choices, how you want to serve in the world. And with that comes growth. Number 18, the Amazon rainforest. Always gives a sense of working with your shadow, but also a sense of growth and abundance here, because this is what the rainforest is. We cut down the rainforest, but it represents an abundance on our earth, and there's a lot of corporations that go and do this, right? They go and deforestize for cattle herding and grazing, and to fill us with fairly artificial foods. But you're looking for a natural growth. It's almost secret and hidden maybe as well. You have to go and seek this. You have to go and find this genuine growth in the places that aren't just given to you, that society pushes you to. It's looking for a genuine and substantial growth as a teacher, as a healer. That requires flexibility. Number 13 relates to the death card, so transformation. The death card also relates to Scorpio. So follows a theme of being flexible in that, and again, finding those places, a rarer power with the tiger because of they're being driven to extinction, but like a rare sense of power and a sense of being this mystical, quite unique being. And the growth as well. Again, the bamboo shows up in this card. Bamboo grows very quickly once it comes out of the ground. And so it's a case of you growing fast and strong, but also flexibly as you move forward on this journey as a healer. I'm going to have a look with the Divine Masters on any extra messages that want to come out. See if there's any more. No. There's no more that wanted to come out apart from the card that has come out. I'll go first to the bottom of the deck, which is Ishtar. Inner learnings, follow your heart, truth prevails. So it talks it to following your heart, finding that golden sense of light, this golden being here within yourself, and embodying a sense of kind of Christ consciousness, which often has a golden feel to it. If you ever follow the dragons, like a golden dragon would represent that. But even just to say, shining, being radiant as a being in your own sense of self, in your own sense of truth, and holding that quite strongly and firmly. And now I'll take the other two cards. Yeah. So Sanat Kumara under that open channel, and he's turned up quite a lot on this, and it gives us that Venusian sense, gives an almost cosmic sense a bit more, and a loving sense of that golden loving vibration. Signs, codes, downloads and sacred information that's coming to you, and Metatron and Sandalphon just to repeat what's happened over the last few days, this sacred connection, synchronicity, divine connection, and understanding lessons. It's talking about your link with the divine, and just under that is another card, which I'm not sure has come out in these readings, so I'll show the card. The divine director, trust the process, create space for the divine order to unfold. Quite a futuristic, very starseedy kind of card coming out to give a sense of relation to all forms of the ways that you see the world, that you can get information coming through, but it's asking you to create space, to open that for that information to come through and to come into your heart, and for truth to prevail in that journey. And the card that came out was Saint Germain, the violet flame. And so this talks about this sense of creation, this sense of alchemy, this sense of transformation, releasing the old, making way for the new. And so this is your journey, this is your place of where you're at, as you keep this distance, as you're being prepared, as you're in a state of reflection, as you take all the downloads and signs, as you look to move forward and to conjure things. This is at the bottom of the deck, the ancestors, coming into that conjure woman, that magician place, that era, which also Thoth kind of relates to the magician and magic. And you do it through alchemy, through transformation, through that violet flame of Saint Germain, which is a spiritual kind of clearing, you know, crown chakra kind of energy. You're making changes with a lot of love and wisdom, and I think that's the message to take forward. You know, you're becoming this healer, you're stepping out of this kind of matrix, and you're just creating the distance for yourself to change and transform and ascend. And I thank you for being here. I thank you again for all of you who've subscribed, who've liked, who've commented, and who've watched these videos, because we're all here to help pull together. And like I say, if you're encouraged to do anything that is creative of yourself, this very much talks to being divinely kind of creative, spiritually kind of creative, uniquely kind of creative, to tap into that kind of violet flame of yours, to tap into that creative spark, and to do it with playfulness, and walk through this world as the healer that you are. And this always comes to you with divine knowledge, that you are a teacher in this world. You're always the student, but you can awaken to the teacher. So much love and belief and gratitude for you being here. And I wish you the best on the journey. Namaste.